All right, now task 4. I don't know what they were thinking for task 4. There appear to be 4 of them. I'm assuming because this is all kind of input validation stuff, so it would make sense to put them in the same one. But like whatever, I'll make a ZZ4. I'll make them in the same file. I might not make them in the same video. I don't know. I don't even know if I make them in the same file. Whatever. Let's start with the first one and see how we get on. Ooh, not cut. No, certainly not cut. I want to copy, I want to paste, and rename Z4 and open it. Cool. Right. So that first one is 4A, error handling in the main menu. No any feedback on valid option choice. So it's get choice to validate the user input from the main application menu. The menu should use stable error messages for input. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna, this should accept integers and valid integers. 7 is not one because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 9 to quit. So now it's interesting. I think there's a nice way of doing this, but whatever. So in here, remember input validation, the design pattern, like the way it should look, the kind of template you're mimicking, that's a little bit better for visibility, is you say, you initialize, it's not valid until it is, and then you repeat, while not valid. So, and then you read the input you're going to validate. Oh, that's interesting. We're not doing just, no, we are not, I guess we're not. No. We're showing the code here. Okay. And then you're putting the input inside the loop. So you don't need to have like an input and then validate. Right. And then, well, okay, let's do this. There might be another way of checking whether it's an int. You could, I suppose, say whether you could go over, well, I mean, this, okay. The ugly way is you try to cast it into an int. And if that breaks, you assume there's a type error and you print, please enter an integer. And then I guess continue, because you don't want to go in anything that, we want to skip the rest of, not the except, right? Maybe this is an except else if you're being poncy, but don't confuse the person marking it. So with a try catch for the type, it would be this, and then you get this as an integer. And this is where I would do it. I would actually get like an argument to say valid values. And if n not invalid values. Ooh, yeah, because it's not quite English. I know it should be consistent and do, yeah, I should be consistent. Valid values. So if n is not in this list of valid values, then we're going to print an error message, which is please enter a valid value, colon, and then print. That's going to come in as a list, but I don't mind this. And when we call get choice, here, we're going to pass, which is the only place it is, right? There's the definition, and it's called once in the main menu loop. And here we're going to pass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no, yeah. Member number 5, no, because there's 5 choices, right? And then there's 9 to quit. Although, yeah, so this does end, the 9 should end up in the choice variable, so that's valid if you want to style it. Ooh, pep 8, it looks like this. So this kind of solves the task, but really I'm not super happy about the try except thing. I mean, in A-level you should know about this, try and accept and whatever. But so if I say 1, please enter an integer. It doesn't prompt me. I don't like that. So I'm going to put, my get choice, right? Which was here. I'm going to say that's an input caret space. And then if I say 7 and it sends me the valid value, right? If I say 1, ooh, interesting. Okay, a little problem there. I got a little problem. Oh, this is bad. I might need to cut the video and figure it out. Well, let's put it, because there should only be one input, which is here. So if I, here's mission one, I've got my second caret, that's fine, I can live with that. And that's not valid because, would it? Oh, sorry, of course. Sorry. And then else, for the sake of it, right? Because you could break out of this loop here. Else valid equal true. Yeah, of course, otherwise we never return from the get choice because we'd never have a valid input. That's extreme input validation. Yeah, whatever. This is also something we're going to need to input validate later in task 4. But this is working because that's not valid. That's not an integer, and I've got my little caret. So, in short, the diff. Actually, it's already selected. Diff between original and Z4, I've got a little bit, I've changed this a little bit because I want to pass the valid values here and I accept them as argument, but I'm sure that's not how ZigZag does it. But this, so if we want to, we got time, it's only 6 minutes, right? So if I actually want to do it maybe the other way, you need to, where's my get choice? So instead of doing this here, I would go, I don't even know if I can do that. I don't know if I can do that actually. I can do that, cool. Yeah, I don't have to do a list of characters, I can just do a string. So to verify that it's actually an integer, you want to verify that, or a number, I guess? I mean, you could be tighter, right? You could say, you could assume it's just one character and has to be this, but I'm gonna assume this, no, actually, no, yeah. So I'm gonna kind of be a bit devious here because ideally you would check that like all of the characters in this are in that one, but and then continue because there's no need to do any of the rest, and remove my try except. But otherwise we cast it to an end before we test it, and I can't type. Look, I made you some. No, that's not what I want to be doing. I want to try my Z3. Z4 already, like a beamer. Cool. What was I doing? So that's, oh yeah, that's because it's not the same choice. Sometimes the choices we make are not the ones we have expected to capitalize correctly. Here we are. One. What? No. Come on. Come on. Come on. Yeah, I did mean, I need to save it, obviously, before I, nightmare. Right. For the sake of it, you can also do it like this. So that might not work, but weirdly, this will work. Well, this will work. This will break into a different one because 12 is within that string. It's also kind of the in for strings. It's like it's a substring. So yeah, we've seen the diff. I'm not going to put it back on screen, but just like, well, actually, let's do the diff now that it's like this, but it's still the same in that I'm still kind of doing the whole thing with valid values and having the big, most of the changes being added to get choice where I'm validating the, so, loop, validate inside the loop, check that it's a digit, and then check that the digit is within the valid values. I'd rather do that than hard code them in that method. See you for the next one.